Along with me, insiders, as we travel along the path that enters inside Twin Oaks Ranch here in Lebanon. I'm so excited! Hang on, it's gonna be fun. We'll see you soon. It's gonna be a great episode. Thank you to Deb Ward for giving us the opportunity to capture their inside story. And this episode of Inside Story Hunters is sponsored by C&R Services, Wasco Masonry, Benefits Group, Chronicle Partners, and let's not forget Quick Cuts Media. So grateful for all of the folks that join us together as we go capture another amazing inside story. This is so fun! Good morning, insiders. This is Lori with the story. We're here at Inside Story Hunters. I have the amazing pleasure to be here with Debbie Ward, the owner of Twin Oaks Guest Ranch, located right here in Lebanon, Tennessee. A little hidden secret. I had the honor to walk through and visit with you just a few days ago, and I didn't want to leave. So it's such an honor to be here with you today for you to unveil a bit of your amazing inside story. So thank you.
Oh, Lori, thank you for the opportunity, and so great to be with you here today.
Absolutely. And I know insiders, you can only see this little room right here, but I was hoping, Deb, that we could start with a little bit of your story of how this came to be. Because it wasn't, you didn't build a ranch or buy a ranch in order to set out to be a destination for families to come and experience magical things and corporations to come here. So would you take us through the journey and how this magical place really has continued to develop just a few years later?
Oh, absolutely. So back in the early 80s, when the government broke up the phone company, I actually was the first woman-owned competitive phone company, and I still have that business 32 years later. And I was always a pioneer, always a cowgirl at heart, and wanted to get out of California. It was becoming extremely difficult to run a business there. And always loved Tennessee, kept coming back here to, the country music scene, and just decided this was where I wanted to call home. So my husband and I got online, we found this place, and needless to say, it was a fixer-upper, a lot of deferred maintenance, but we had the opportunity and the vision, and he's a retired land developer and architect, and before my phone business life, I was a general contractor and flipped houses, and so I also had that vision. And we were here in August of 2010, right before the big boom hit, and we started working on the place. And we would have our Televergence clients come out and vendors come out, and they said to me, Deb, people would love to come out here and recharge, be out in the country, be amongst the horses. They'd pay good money to do that, and you should really consider, renting it as like a short-term rental. And our kids were getting bigger. We originally bought it for them so we could all stay in our main house here and have a big family reunion a couple times a year. And one Christmas, they couldn't come, and it was just my husband and I, and we had
Cowboy,
everything.
By the way, you're a cowgirl, and let's not forget your husband's name.
Yes.
Cowboy.
Yes, everybody calls him Cowboy. They have since he's 3 years old. Many people don't even know his real name, and I'm not going to let that secret out either. But he and I kind of sat around the campfire outside. It looked like the North Pole, and there was two of us, and we said, boy, this is pretty quiet, and just the two of us, maybe we ought to consider getting into the Airbnb and VRBO sites and see what it's all about, and got a little guidance from our friend Tina Globerson. And I started researching it, and within 2 months had our listings up and running, and within just a matter of hours had over 20 reservations. And we looked at each other and said, what just happened here? So that is...
in that moment, I mean, you went live, like it or not.
We went live, and it was excitement, and then it was fear, and it was dread on, oh my goodness, we've never done this before. How are we going to make this happen and really create that experience for our guest? And, here we are in approaching 2022, and we've had over 500 stays. And with COVID, We decided there was a huge need after doing some research and talking with friends and colleagues and family, and we started doing corporate retreats.
Amazing. And there's so much sadness and difficulty that's come with COVID. We've
Absolutely.
all been impacted in this world. But with all due respect, a lot of painful gifts came to this beautiful place.
It sure did.
COVID brought a lot of positive for especially the families to create experiences and memories. And do they not travel from all around the world to come here?
They do. So we do miss our Canadian and European travelers due to the fact that there's still some travel restrictions. So most of our travelers have been for the domestic U.S., and believe it or not, we're getting lots of staycations from folks that are here in Nashville. And, we've been blessed. So many folks were isolated with COVID, and because we have 50 acres here, you just naturally social distance. And for the first couple of months, it was very painful. We had to refund all of our reservations. 60 days went by, and then boom, all of a sudden the floodgate opened, and we got tons of reservations. And so we were very fortunate that we were not disconnected from our community, from our family, from our relationships. Those guests really helped us stay connected, and I think that really helped us during such a difficult time.
Take us through an experience. Let's say it's a family that's coming here for the first time, and they're not from the United States. What would you say through their eyes and through their experience that they would say? What have you heard, and what would that be like to come and stay here at the ranch?
So they start off reading all of the reviews, which is extremely critical to this type of a business, wanting to know what the other experiences were. And when they get here, they say it's much more magical than the pictures and what the reviews have to say. And by the time they leave here, they say they feel like their family. And that's really what we wanted to achieve, is we call it our Big Twin Oaks Ranch Extended Family. And we have a lot of family members now after doing this for 5 years. And we've seen the little kids grow up from, infants up to young adults. And it really does feel like a family where you can kick your feet up and make yourself at home. And that's really the magic of it.
But it makes me think this is what you do in every part of your life.
It is.
I just met you through NABO. Let's talk about that, because obviously it resonates well with us. But the power of a woman-owned business, and now you a serial entrepreneur, because you have more than one, right? But
Absolutely.
Let's talk about NABO and the fact that meeting you, everything you do, you look to connect it to man or woman to be able to help another business owner grow. It's imperative to you. It's a part of who you are, that you're always looking for how to navigate that.
Absolutely, Lori. I call it paying it forward. I'm a firm believer what you give out is what comes back to you, and tenfold. The challenge I had when I first started my telecom business is I was the first female-owned, carrier, and they didn't have organizations like NABO or some of the other organizations out there. So all of my mentors were men. And I was actually very blessed, although I didn't have the women mentors like we have today. They were willing to help me, and I wasn't afraid to say, you know what, I don't know what I don't know. And it's amazing when you make that, that admission, how many people are willing to help you. And so I'm really grateful to those male mentors, and many of them are still, very dear friends of mine to this day. But back in 2015, I became acquainted with this women organization called NABO, the National Association of Women Business Owners. And I'm here obviously in Nashville, so I joined the Nashville chapter. And I saw such a great opportunity to meet amazing women and to help mentor them, based on all the experience that I had had. I thought if I could make it one step simpler for them towards success, then I was going to make an impact and make a difference.
Because so much of what you said is so positive. But Debbie, would it be fair to say there's been a lot of struggles?
Absolutely.
You're in environments and business. Yes, you had male mentors, but there had to be tremendous difficulties. And now, tell us about how part of the telecom world has changed so drastically. The competition And you shared with me, if you would elaborate, you were losing that connection to the people interaction.
So there's been a lot of changes, as you know, with technology, and being an entrepreneur and pioneer back in the late 80s, technology's changed significantly with the adoption of the internet. So much information's available out there. And I was really starting to lose my passion for the phone business. And I had to wake up and finally admit that. And I said it out loud. And once I said it out loud, I embraced it and said, okay, either one of two things are going to happen. Either I'm going to have to stop doing what I'm doing and find something that I absolutely love, and that is connecting with people, serving people, provided an outstanding service at an incredible discounted price. And I just had to recognize that, it would take you 6 months to get somebody to pick up the phone and talk to you, and 13 touch points. And once I realized that, and it wasn't me personally, I said, okay, I'm going to continue to persevere. And I've had the Twin Oaks Guest Ranch and all those relationships to kind of fuel that energy and help me get that passion back.
You told me that Cowboy prefers to hang here. He'd be okay with not interacting with other human beings, but then you create this magnificent world here at Twin Oaks Guest Ranch, and of course he's interacting with people. But feeding your soul, to be able to come out here and
Absolutely.
you're able to create environments where you can make him happy, because he's just magnificent at the woodworking and the things that he does. So we'll just take a few minutes and talk about how it's impacted your family and the extensions that are connected to this ranch. How many people mouths are you feeding today? And literally we're sitting in a room where you feed people,
Right.
just one of them. So.
Right. So one of the interesting outcomes of COVID in our European travelers is that folks wanted all-inclusive. The husbands were tired of their wives cooking. The wives were tired of cooking. The kids are like, oh, I don't want to eat another meal from mom. So they asked if we would do meals. And I said, I never say no, sometimes to my own detriment. Mm-hmm. And so we created menus and we started doing meals. And it, one thing led to another. My husband is always sitting at the head of the table, and they love to hear all of his cowboy stories. Like I mentioned earlier, he's a retired land developer and architect, but his passion was always for the rodeo. So many people didn't know that he rode in the rodeo for many, many years, over 20 years, and he rode bulls and bunking broncs. So he's got lots.
Please tell me more.
He's got lots of stories to tell. Well, if you look now on television and all the big events throughout the country, it's PBR, and you can make lots of money these days. All the young guys are doing it, and the sponsorships. But he's an oldie but goodie, so he still does it, but does it generally for charity rides. And so all the guests love to hear the stories, and it's taken us back to a simpler time when things weren't as complicated. And although he doesn't like large groups of people, he likes small, intimate groups of people, and he is very sociable and, loves teaching them how to rope, how to ride. And of course, he's always the bartender at the saloon.
Yes, you have to see the saloon. Happy hour happens in the saloon.
It sure does.
And those benches that have saddles on them that you created, which makes me think of the bunker. The Bunk House is the room. Am I saying it right?
Yeah, that's Willies Bunkhouse.
Yes, but tell the story about Willie Nelson and the guitar, and how it was a God wink that it appeared when you were thinking about finding something special for that room.
So we originally wanted to create an authentic general store. A lot of folks wanted to be able to take home souvenirs. And so we took a space right outside the saloon, and Cowboy and a friend of ours started mapping out the plans and started building it. And I walked in one day and said, I think that this would be a better suite to rent. We're turning away our European travelers who love country music, love that authentic Western experience. And, I feel really bad. We really need more space. And so we did a shift and redesigned it and did just an amazing, authentic Western bunkhouse. And we had this wall that it really needed something magical when you walk in, and we really couldn't find anything here locally. So we went on vacation for the very first time. We had been together for 15 years, never taken a holiday, and I basically told a cowboy, you have one of three options. You either go with me, I go with my girlfriends, or we're going to go to divorce court. So that really incented him to want to go with me to Key West. So our first trip there, we went into town, had dinner, and we were walking back to take the boat to our cottage. And we came across a gallery, and they were just putting up this beautiful signed Willie Nelson guitar in the window. And we don't like to spend money on ourselves. Everything's about the guest, improving the property so there's a better experience. And so we went inside, and I got talking to the owner of the gallery, and he gave us a price, which was fairly reasonable. I had expected it to be a lot more. And he said, I asked the shipping time, and he said, well, it's going to take about 6 weeks to ship it to y'all in Nashville there by the time it's packed and insured. And I said, well, we've got some guests checking in a few days. And I said, if you can get it to us in 3 days, we'll pay, for expedited shipping. We'll take it. And he said, no questions asked, we're going to do it. So 3 days later, it arrived, and we mounted it, and we have dedicated the Bunk House to Willie Nelson, one of the iconic artists in country music.
And I just wanted to say I captured a picture of it, so please, I know podcasters, most of you are just listening to us today, but if you'll go to LoriWithAStory.com, you'll be able to watch this video, and then we'll include some, like a slideshow towards the end or somewhere in here where you'll be able to see a picture of the guitar. But you need to come take a tour. And can anyone just come here for happy hour? Or is it really, it's a part of the experience?
We keep it intimate. That was one of the tough decisions that we had to make. We've had such a demand for people wanting to come and stay. And, part of the charm and that experience is it is intimate, and it's like family. So we've decided that we're really not going to expand much beyond what we've already done. And we're going to keep it that small family environment. And so the saloon typically is just for the use of the guest. But, occasionally we'll do some events and holiday parties and things where we'll invite guests outside.
Absolutely. But you are expanding. Let's talk the deck, the rooms. I mean, there's so many different places here at the ranch for you to stay at, and a swimming pool please.
So we had our dining room here that we converted during COVID, and it's beautiful. And it's indoors, but a lot of people really want that barn experience. And I need to come up with a much more efficient way to grill and to serve all of our guests. So we ended up building an extension on the back.
Amazing.
And we set up all of our buffet tables out there, all of our grilling. And it's just, one more step in being efficient so we can free up our time to spend with the amazing guests that reside and come to visit.
But you do, this has taken on a life of its own.
We sat around that fire pit in 2015 and just had no idea that it would become what it is today. And, I think about that movie, Field of Dreams, Build It, They Will Come, and oh my goodness, did they ever.
Mm-hmm. And of course, we need to talk about the horses for all those that love to horseback ride. Right. When you pull in and the gates open and you drive in, you've just entered into a very special world, right? And then to the right, just magnificent horses just running freely. And then Rosie and Bo, we need to talk about the puppy dogs. And it's just, everybody it's the welcoming wagon when you come through the door.
Yes. We have our 4 border collies. We call them the welcoming committee, and everybody loves interacting with them. They're amazing animals and, very friendly, very smart. And then the other, pleasure we had is when we first moved here to Nashville. Excuse me, there's a fly here. The economy was really suffering, and it's expensive to maintain horses. And so word got out that we had land, and so we actually rescued quite a few horses that, wouldn't have otherwise had a home. And we nursed them back to health. And then we had a breeder, also our large animal vet, that we found out was a horse breeder, literally 10 minutes down the road. And so some of our rodeo horses we acquired from Doc Kinslow from the Lost Creek Cattle Company. And so we have a variety of everything from bomb-proof to rodeo horses for first-time riders. If you've never been on a horse, we've got a horse for you. If you want to do some barrel racing here in the arena, we've got a horse that'll accommodate that as well.
Amazing. I mean, do you realize that everything you were describing about your stories for you and Cowboy, and you're the cowgirl, that you were preparing? Construction, land development, rodeo, everything you're sharing in your inside story, every piece of the journey leading here to this road, to this destination, was like you were in school in order to create this.
Looking back, Lori, you're absolutely right. But as we were going through the journey, we really didn't think about it.
Yeah. But, and I do want to spend more time talking about as a woman entrepreneur, to spend a little more time there. What's your footprint? What's your legacy? How do you want the world to remember you? May you be with us for 100 more years, I always say. But I think it's important for you to just elaborate, like, where your passions have come through, even though you didn't know what you were doing all along the way that was leading to a much bigger purpose.
I've been fortunate through the years that I've had so many wonderful opportunities and supporters and friends. And if I can touch somebody's life and make them a little bit happier and better, then that's what my goal is. That's the legacy that I want to leave, that I've been able to touch someone's life and help improve it.
If there were just a couple of words that, that you wish someone had said to you along the way that might have just helped you detour a little, and you and I have in common, we're not big fans of the word pivot, right? So
I think that word should be removed from the vocabulary. Not one of my favorite words.
It's a powerful word. It's the P words, and people resonate so well with it.
They do.
But you healed me this morning when you said to me, it's not pivoting. It's about sitting back, reflecting, and evaluating.
Right.
It takes great strength to be able to stop and say, the phone business, the way it is right now and how it's transitioned, isn't feeding my soul. You could have stayed connected to it. It's a revenue stream. You were smart enough to create a passive income. So, but it wasn't acceptable anymore. There was something calling to you. So part of that footprint, that legacy, what are some of those things that you would do differently? Again, that maybe someone could have said, that you now know, the questions that we don't know to ask along the way.
I think two really powerful words are don't be afraid. Well, actually, that's 3 words. I think we limit ourselves because of fear and the fear of failure. And that was something that I was feeling with the phone business, that, maybe I wasn't learning quick enough, the technology was changing, maybe we really didn't have something of value. And, don't be afraid to have those conversations with yourself. It's scary.
Yes.
Especially when that's your main income stream.
Yes.
And you've got a lot of team members and that have become your extended family. It's very difficult to say, maybe I need to do something else because it's also going to affect their lives.
Yes.
And, their children. So it's tough, but don't be afraid to have those conversations with yourself or anybody in your tight-knit circle.
I love that you said that. My dear friend Nicole, who owns Flash Me Experience, is just a lovely soul, said to me, just do it scared. Just do it, right? And, what you're describing is, I went through my own journey. The Inside Story Hunters podcast is birthed from a place of fear. It was but it's a similar experience of reaching a place of, I know I have these 20 other people that are connected to me, but there's so much about this I'm unhappy about, and I need to figure out how I can make it right. And making those changes birthed so many other opportunities. And it's do it anyway. Don't be afraid. And the fears is I tell my son Evan, it's gasoline in the race car. It just makes you go faster. It'll feed the superpower.
It absolutely does. And I found keeping a positive attitude, as much as you may think the world's crashing in on you, come from that place of positivity. Generally 99% of the stuff you think is going to happen that's not good generally doesn't happen.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And, the old, I know it sounds cliche, but, look at it that the glass is half full, not half empty. Mm-hmm. And it'll serve you well.
I mean, just 2010, you buy a property that was not in this shape, right? And here we are about to close the year of 2021.
Right.
And who would know? And it's the bravery, the courage, and the fact that you took the steps to go online. Was it you were just curious? You just thought, again, it was back to just sharing a little bit, right?
I was curious, and when Tina said, people would really pay to stay here, that you have something magical, I thought, well, maybe she's right. Maybe I need to explore this. Mm-hmm. And like I said, it was a time when I was losing passion for my phone business, so everything kind of lined up the way it should have, and not being able to have our kids here and having this great big place, and our joy is sharing it with others. And, why build it? And, we don't need much. I mean, we live in the kitchen, my home office here, and we have our laundry room, and it's probably about 600 square feet, and that's really all we need. So we really get a lot of joy in seeing the smiles on people's face, and when they leave and say they really feel recharged and part of the family, and they book to come back the next time, that's really what it's all about.
But Insider, Debbie's being very humble, because there's an outdoor entertainment section. Now you have a house band. There are people that have their passions: carpentry work, singing, performing, cleaning, a cleaning business, a woman-owned business. People who work for you, staff. You're adding more staff members in 2022. I mean, it's feeding people, and it's allowing us to be creative. Here I am being able to just capture a story, which is my passion, to help put a voice to a very special place. And for you, who Insiders, believe it or not, Debbie told me that she really doesn't like to stand before groups. So
I'm terrified. I'll be vulnerable here. I've passed up so many opportunities throughout my business life and personal life, because I have a fear of getting up in front of an audience.
The power, though, of a podcast. I didn't know what I didn't know, because it's just you and I really sitting here with and reaching out to a virtual environment for those that'll bless us with the opportunity of hearing. And maybe there's just another woman or a man or someone that's listening that says, I've always wanted to do that, or we needed a new place to visit, or, I wonder if they need more, I don't know, people to help work with the horses, right? I mean, we stand in our own way to create opportunities that God just wants to bless us with. So we just got to get out of the way.
Well, it's I think a lot of it stems back to, when you're growing up, what your parents, their influence, and either positive or negative. And, some of that baggage we carry with us through the years. And, I've carried that baggage. I mean, I wouldn't go to class. I'd say I was sick if I had to get up and do an oral report. And I think back now, how foolish was that?
But you just didn't know.
But I didn't know. Mm-hmm. So, here we are today, and appreciate you allowing me to do the podcast and putting on some earphones and chatting with you here at our dining room table.
I'm really excited for you, and I'm grateful to know you, and may there be people that continue to just come and experience, because you're a life changer. This Inside Story Hunters podcast is to capture the stories of life changers, serial entrepreneurs, and we do this to help grow businesses and bring opportunities. Absolutely. Right? So all of that is just powerful, and it's really, so whatever comes in front of us, don't be afraid. I mean, those are your magic words I think we want to highlight today. Don't be afraid. Do it anyway.
Well, and I'm grateful to the NABO organization here. I had the pleasure of meeting Ellen Jansen. She was the membership committee chair, amazing lady, and I served on her committee. And then she invited you to one of our recent luncheons.
Yes.
And we connected, and I just felt a very good connection with you. And So my thanks goes out to Ellen for starting that process. And here we are today, and I know we're going to be lifetime friends for sure.
I hope so. That would
Absolutely.
be wonderful. And lucky me. So, and yes, a big shout out to Ellen, who stepped into the entrepreneur world months ago and has been super successful in the banking world and leading large teams in the financial industry. And then becomes a NABO member because she started her own company.
She sure did.
And years of walking alongside other, especially female business owners, and mentoring and supporting them. And she just, the podcast, she's a big fan and someone who believes that the inside story of human beings is just, we all are so unique this way. So.
And we all have our own story, don't we? Everyone has a
story. Right? It really is. Some people want chocolate. I want a story, and it's better for my waistline too.
There you go.
Stick with the stories. But let's mention your website, which is twinoaksguestranch.com.
Yes, ma'am.
And is there anywhere else that you would encourage us to go to call or to email?
We also, yeah, sure. We also have a Facebook page, Twin Oaks Guest Ranch. And you can see lots of reviews and photos. And if you like us, you can track some of the activities. We try to post a couple times a week, and we post a lot of our guest activities. And it's a big community, and I think you'd love it.
Absolutely. And again, it's for corporations. Want to do the team building, the interaction, families. You can go. 6 people can sleep in one of the bunkhouse, right?
Right. We can accommodate up to 18 overnight guests.
Which makes it so intimate.
It does. And like I said earlier, we've had requests to expand and do corporate retreats for 50 or 60 people, but I really think we would lose the feel, the culture, that intimacy, and we really don't want to do that. So we're keeping it smaller.
I think maybe one of the last closing remarks that I want to make sure that we mention to the insiders, which was really powerful for me to hear, is when you said, this is not a place where you're going to make a lot of money because of the fact that it's connected to you just creating a safe haven. And that yet the money keeps flowing and you're growing the company. But your mindset comes from a place that is much different than whether or not the P&L at the end of the day or the quarter or the year demonstrates financial growth.
Well, I'm fortunate enough that I have my phone business that's, really our main income stream. And so it's any guests that stay, that the income from that, we turn right back around and we invested in the property to make it better, add more amenities, and also to staff. And, we added as I was mentioning during COVID, we added the meals. So, now that's a full-time job. And then the entertainment. We met Garen Lewis. You talk about connecting. We had gone to a PBR event downtown at Bridgestone and wanted to beat the traffic, so we left a few minutes early before the event was over. And he was playing there at the little Jack Daniel's bar outside. And I said, let's stop in and have a cup of coffee. And he sounds good. Let's listen to some music for a little bit. And we did, and went up and talked to him and said, hey, we got guests that stay. We'd love to have some live entertainment for them. And one thing led to another, and here we are. He's an up-and-coming country music star.
Absolutely. Awesome. And also there's someone who did all the woodwork, the carpenter,
yes.
Right?
So a dear friend of ours, Jason Turner. He's a local contractor, just an amazing human being, very resourceful, and he's milled a lot of the wood here on our property. And some of it you'll see here in our dining room and out in our tack room. And we had a big tree fall a few weeks ago and a 36-inch base and took out our electricity for several hours, and kind of a blessing in disguise. He milled it all, and it's going to be our new beautiful live edge table for our tack room.
Amazing.
So,
even that, you're thinking, oh my God, the tree fell, and it
right.
was just really another godly design that was happening.
Absolutely, Lori.
This is perfect. Absolutely. Thank you again for, insiders. Please come visit Twin Oaks Guest Ranch here in Lebanon, Tennessee. It's just minutes off the highway. whether it's a staycation or you're inviting in your loved ones, and you want to come horseback riding, doing something. You work for a company, you own a company. Gather your teams, gather your people, and or you need the girls' night. You need the.
We get a lot of girls' trips.
Of course you do, because if you saw it's so magical. I walked in 10 minutes into the tour. I said, "Could I please live here? I promise I'll do a good job to tell the story." So, and I haven't stopped talking about it since. So, again, just thanks for being with us here at the Inside Story Hunters podcast. And a visit with Debbie Ward and Cowboy, who's busy out there working because she's a slave driver, making sure that he never gets a break. But at Twin Oaks Ranch, the website again is twinoaksranch.com. So,
Lori, it's been a pleasure, and appreciate you having me today.
It's my honor. So thank you. And I'm just going to say, I should have said howdy, folks, when I started.
Yeehaw!
Yeehaw! Giddy up. So bye for now.